What is up? Hey, man, I was just getting a workout in. I hit a goal for the month there. Oh, sorry, Chris Folk Podcast, episode 49. I believe we're just going to call this one the random show. We got some Q&As. We got some updates on things I've been doing. And what I was getting at there, I just got done with one of my 3 challenges of the year. Number 1, clean and strict overhead press your body weight. Check that box. Next one's barbell snatch. Next one is this rowing machine challenge, which is probably going to be my kryptonite. Now, while I was doing this, man, I was listening to Kanye West, All of the Lights. Well, that's such a great song, man. I had it on repeat for a little bit there. I love the end of that. We got the Alicia Keys part coming in, Kanye West doing his thing. The beat's going crazy, I think is what the kids say. But, man, I got that song stuck in my head. It's probably going to be my theme song for the day here. So, getting into podcast episode 49. We got a lot of stuff, right? So, we're going to talk about the difference between systems and goals, an update on my programs, how to get shredded, what breaks a fast, how do you stay hungry? Yeah, I'm talking to you out there. How do you stay hungry, and as you go out and try to accomplish these tasks? Can you teach that hunger to kids? Is it a thing that you could teach in a lesson? The training period of time between ages of 13 and 17, I talk about it enough. And then lastly, I'm kind of a coward here, everybody, but somebody did ask me, what is my favorite book? And I didn't have an answer. I still don't have an answer. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish. I'm in the double digits right now, so I whittled it down to 10, and I'll share that with you later in here. So let's get into it right off the bat. And I got a great quote at the end, too, of course, right? We might as well finish with a great quote from the man himself, Jordan Peterson. So this is where we are right now. 4, 3, 2, 1, update. That's my little strategy that I took in the new year here. January, lose 4 pounds. February, lose 3. March, lose 2. April, lose 1. So I started out at 195. At the end of April, at some time next month, I'm going to be 185 pounds. Hopefully looking a little leaner and feeling better in the process. So, and then, of course, let's try to maintain and hold that weight. How's things going there? February was rough. Walking was diminished big time. We got hit with about 40 inches of snow. Where I live out here, I'm out here in no man's land, baby. I got a 10-acre farm. We're out here in the country. There's no shoulder on these roads. People are flying by. Snow made it very difficult. That ice made it very difficult to walk, so I pressed pause on the walking. I changed up my eating routine a bit. I started following a fast, roughly 15 hours most days. Dan John's got this program, Easy Strength for Olympic Lifting, Fast 15. Basically what you do, you fast for 15 hours, you hit complexes, you do a few Olympic lifts, you carry something around, then you go home. You do that 5 days a week. So that's why I went with that. Body weight's still coming down. I just finished 3 weeks of that program. I have a small little change up next week, and then I'm going to make a decision on either I'm going to repeat that program or move on to this other program that he has. I forget what it's called, but I'll share that with you then. Something about the coming home from deployment type program. So the weight is coming off. I'm doing a shake in the morning. I'm doing one good meal. So I'm doing 1 meal, maybe 2, and I'm usually eating my daughter's leftovers, which one day was 8 egg yolks. We had hard-boiled eggs, and she ate all the whites out of 8 of them over the course of the day. So as I got in from work and I see all these egg yolks in a bowl, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do with this? So I just kind of mashed them up, threw them in a salad with some white beans and some other randomness, and called it a salad. So yeah, you got to keep that into account too. My diet is not super strict. How I'm trying to get this weight off is fasting and walking, and then of course the strength training. Right? So far so good. I'm going to get to a point here where I might have to, tighten it up, throttle down. But I'm hoping at that point, the weather breaks here in Pennsylvania. We might be in April when I'm going to need to throttle down, and I'll hopefully be able to do more outside activities. Bonus too, my daughter's going to preschool on Tuesday, man. Can't believe it. She just turned 3 last Friday. We had a great day. We went out. She had her first horseback riding lesson with a new trainer, with just somebody random, not a stranger to us, but kind of a stranger to her. She got to ride her boy Riot, a horse that we have that's at this farm right now. She got her lesson. We ate a bunch of food, got her some steak. We went to Oak Steakhouse in Easton, Pennsylvania. Wonderful. But anyhow, where am I going with this? She just turned 3. She's starting preschool on Tuesday. That's going to hopefully give me some time to put out some more content, to take more walks, and get a little bit more fit. At least that's a plan. And start cleaning this wonderful barn out here. We got phase 2 of 100 probably going down very, very soon here. So 4-3-2-1 plan, going well. January lost 4, February lost 3. That's got me down to 188. This month I got to hit 186 for a few days here. Try to hold the line there, and just see what happens here. So maybe early in April I get to that 185 mark, weather permitting. We got some 60-degree days coming up. Now, James Clear is a guy that puts out a lot of great content. He said some out here, systems. I don't know the quote exactly, but it's basically, goals will get you to accomplish something once. Systems get you to accomplish things for a lifetime. And the past year, I've been thinking about things pretty much since this whole pandemic happened. It's like, you know what? Yeah, I could drop 10 pounds if I started running, a few times a week, right? But that's something I'm not going to be able to do when I'm 40, 50, 60, 70. I need to find some things I can do. That's where the walking comes in. Strength training 3 times a week. It's not out of reason, right? Get your daily activity levels up. Maybe you fast for a little bit. You put an emphasis on sleeping. You put an emphasis on stress mitigation. You eat like you're grown up. Maybe you do some intervals. And then at some point here, if you have to monitor calories, you monitor calories, right? This could be, that's kind of my system of how I live life. Now, how do you define a system? When you think about the sports world here, you think about, let's say you look at college football. Back in the day, you got a triple option type system, right? Or, we had the zone read type of stuff. And then we had what Mike Leach does, what Hawaii did, 15, 20 years ago. Norm Chow's a guy when he was at BYU, this elaborate passing system. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's kind of plug and play. The quarterbacks change every year, but the system is what wins. It's the system that's the star, not the individual player, so to speak. So when you look at a system, it's like you could take all of these things, some of these things that I mentioned before, the walking, the fasting, the strength training 3 times a week, the getting your daily intake, your daily activity levels up, all of this stuff, that's kind of the system. Trying to sleep 7+ hours a night, trying to mitigate your stress. That system is a winning system, and it can be applied to everybody. That system is the star. It's not anything that I say or do. It's just that system in itself can work for a large majority of the population. Get your activity levels up. Try to get a little bit stronger. Be mindful of what you eat. Eat like a grown-up. Maybe fast if that's something that you want to do and fit into your schedule, right? That's the system we want. The goal, if my goal at the beginning of the year was to lose 10 pounds, I could have went out and started running 3 days a week, and I probably would have lost 10 pounds in, 6 weeks, roughly. Just because running is something I don't do, and that whole new challenge to me would really wipe away some body weight, basically, right? And it would probably take down my body mass a little bit, eat up a little bit of that muscle here. And I'd be able to drop 10 fairly quick, right? But that system is not a system that could last for a long time. Eventually my body's going to break down. I'm not going to be able to run. So when we talk about goals, it's not about that one-time thing. It's not like I'm going to lose 10 pounds in 4 months. That's what I said as a goal. But really the main focus was to kind of snap myself out of this funk I was in from this COVID thing, try to get back on track and try to find a winning formula that I could do for the rest of my life. So remember, goals are nice. Maybe once or twice a year, you really hunker down for a goal, which is what I'm personally doing, my 4-3-2-1 idea. But at the end of the day, the way that I accomplish this goal is stuff that I could just continue doing for long periods of time. And I don't need to start weighing myself. I need to be able to look, hey, I'm 184, 186, 185, 187, whatever it may be. I just need to kind of hold the line there and not balloon back up to 195, okay? So that would be, in my definition, of a system and a goal, right? Goals are that one-time thing. Systems what last forever. Sports, college football, in my mind, is the ultimate indicator of systems. Some coaches just have a system and it works, and they get it done no matter where they are. So moving on from that, now we started talking about these things that could last a lifetime, right? Now what about, I had some guys that I coached, they said, I want to get shredded. And, these guys are former college athletes. They're coming in and we're hammering this juggernaut program. This is their last week, man. They got, 4 more sessions, right? So it might end up carrying over into next week as well. They got 4 more lifts. They might double up and get it done this week. We shall see. But they're dying for the next program. And I think that's the key when it comes to exercising is like, you need to put the work in. You need to finish the program, but you need to get to that point where you're just like, God darn it, I'm freaking sick of this thing and I can't wait for the next thing. So when the next program comes in, you're excited, renewed energy, renewed vigor, and you attack it like a maniac. So what we're doing right now, these guys are finishing a juggernaut, which is, let's just say, a big-time strength program, right? After that strength program here, we're going to try to get a little bit lean. These dudes are like 22, and they're trying to get shredded by the June beach season. So how are we going to do that? It's going to be tough, all right? Because I don't know if these guys are going to be willing to give up those, those meals, those food truck meals and the craft brews that they tend to get themselves into, right? So that extra calories is going to be an issue. My recommendations are going to be like this, man. Let's eat like a grown-up, number one. All the stuff that I mentioned earlier, maybe we start doing that now, and that's going to be a big change for some of these guys. Eat like a grown-up, fast, take a walk. If you're a big-time eater, let's say you eat 3 big meals or 3 meals, why don't you just cut down, eat the same amount of calories except over 2 meals? Go for a walk during lunchtime. They're all working from their home office, right? Eat while you're working if you can. If you get a lunch break, go for a walk around the block. 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. You start doing the math on that. That's 2.5 hours of walking that you weren't doing before. Strength. They're going to continue to strength train. I would say 2 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever you could get in. Intervals. This is going to be the introduction. This is going to be what's going to make or break you, I think, with the getting shredded part. You could do the walks, you could do the fasting, you could do the lifting, but you need to introduce something that's going to make you, that's really going to induce change in your body. Something that's going to get, I think, those lungs burning, the muscle fatigue. Something a little bit different from that strength program they're doing. Because they were able to do the strength stuff now, heavyweight, low reps. Now we're going to transition into some lighter loads with more reps here, and we're going to get them breathing heavy, and we're going to get those muscles burning. The idea being that they're not good at it, right? So they're going to be inefficient. They're going to struggle with it. And the more struggle there is, the more struggle there is, the more potential for, getting leaner. The more inefficient you are at an exercise, the harder it's going to be on your body, the more calories it's going to take out of that body. And you could hopefully get that calorie in, calorie out, formula to the right spot there. Inefficient exercise, things that you're not good at, do those things because that's what's probably going to elicit some fat loss, right? Stress mitigation. These guys are young, they're 22, and they're still living at home because COVID's got them basically working from home. And, some of these guys have jobs in Philly and this and that, but they're just staying at home. They're not even going to the office yet, so they're all at home. How stressful could that be, living with your family? Potentially stressful, right? Or they're treated like kings because they're still their parents' children, right? And the parents are spoiling them a bit. And lastly, if you're not getting results, if you're not getting shredded like you want, start cutting some calories. I don't know. I don't have a great formula for this other than the fact, do some strength training, do some inefficient exercise, mix in some intervals, and be mindful of what you're eating. All right? Sounds simple, but it's really not in practice here. So that is that. Moving on. What breaks a fast, Chris? Well, in my opinion, which I could be totally wrong here, but, I drink a bunch of coffee, right? And there's some people, time-restricted eating, Rhonda Patrick, some of these other people, they will say that the moment that you drink something or eat something that's not water, that your eating window begins. So if you got a 9-hour eating window, if you have coffee at 5:30 in the morning, like somebody, this guy right here, if you drink some coffee at 5:30 in the morning, you start counting from there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 30 would be your last meal, 9 hours. All right, if you fast for 15. But I think there's a little wiggle room there, right? I don't think the coffee is going to break the fast. There's too many people that think it doesn't. And if you go with that opinion, I think you're going to be okay. I think what really gets you is those calories, right? If you get a couple hundred calories and you get a protein shake with water and just protein powder, I think that's going to knock you out of the fast. Anything that's going to take a little bit of more energy to digest, you're going to lose those benefits of letting your gut kind of heal up and recover from certain things. And that's kind of the main reason why I do some fasting anyways, that I just want to give my body a break from digesting food constantly. I don't want to eat late in the evening because I think it affects my sleep. So I just stop eating early. I'll eat early in the morning, and then I'll stop around 2:30, 4:30, somewhere in that range, right? So that'll give me, anywhere from a 9 to 11-hour eating window. I just feel better when I do it that way. I feel so much better if I push off that first meal. If I get a bunch of stuff done in the morning, If I eat and then I come out and have to work, it takes the juices out of me a little bit. I don't know why. And then I got to work out after, and it's just not, like, mentally it's a little bit draining. So I try to get a bunch of stuff done as much as possible in the morning, as much as my daughter, who's just newly turned 3, will allow it. Because she's been waking up at like 6 a.m. now. And it's making my morning routine, I have to change on the fly a little bit each day. But anyhow, I think anything with some calories is going to break it fast. A protein shake, I think you're all right with coffee and tea. Some people say yes, some say no. I'm on the side of saying yes, it's okay to have some coffee because that's just kind of what I do. But then I also don't eat late into the day, so I still kind of stay in that, like I said, 9, 10, 11, 12, not 12, 9, 10, or 11 hour eating windows. So that's that. The second thing, I just did a video. It's on my YouTube page, which like and subscribe that thing, please. I'm trying to get up to 100 this year. It's new. I'm at 42. Let's build this thing up here, all right? Ladders. Basically what you do with these ladders here now, if you're trying to get strong and if you're trying to put on muscle mass, there's 2 different things, right? So the muscle mass equation, and this works great with kids. High school age athletes, I just had these guys doing it. 25 to 40 pounds increase in their bench press in 4 to 6 weeks. It sounds crazy, but basically what you practice, you get better at. And you do a ton of reps following this 2-3-5, 2-3-5, 2-3-5 ladder, which I'll explain in a second. That if you do that twice a week, you're getting 60 reps in of moderate to heavy weights. And you do that for 5 or 6 weeks and your weights are going to fly up. So this is what you do. Let's say it's the bench press, for example. You pick a weight, you could do 6 to 8 reps. And you do 2 reps, then you do 3 reps, then you do 5 reps. That's one ladder. The goal is to do 3 ladders in a workout. So 2-3-5, 2-3-5, 2-3-5. That equals 10 reps each ladder, 30 reps total for the day, all right? If you complete that on Monday, let's say you did 100 pounds, then on Thursday, if you're doing it again, you do 105 pounds and you redo it. If it's a lower body exercise like a squat, you're gonna add 10 pounds to that. So if you do 100 pounds in the squat, you completed all the ladders, you go to 110. Just because the lower body, we tend to be able to make bigger jumps because the weights were being lifted are higher. So that's the 2-3-5 ladder. If you do that twice a week for 4 to 6 weeks, you're gonna get huge gains. Now there's one stipulation. If you fail, all right, if you do 2-3-5, 2-3, and then you fail at that 5, you have to stop for that day and you just move on to the rest of the workout. So let's say that's Monday and you fail on that second round of 5. You do it again on Thursday with the same exact weight. And I swear to you, 9 out of 10 times, but probably more like 99 out of 100 times, the person is able to complete the ladder, the full 3 ladders, the second time they make the attempt. So it's like no matter where they fail, they seem to just get it. I don't know. It's like magic. I don't know how it works, but it always seems to work out that way. That's for young kids, in my opinion, because it gets like the novice weightlifter a lot of experience moving moderate to heavy weight, and they need practice feeling that. If you're more advanced and you're trying to get some absolute strength going here, I would do 1, 2, 3 on the ladder. And I would do it probably once a week if you are advanced. Like, if you're in your 30s, something like that, 40s, you've been lifting for 10, 15, 20 years. Doing heavy ladders twice a week might be a lot. So let's just say you are benching and you could bench 300 pounds. You pick a weight you could do for 5. Let's say it's 270, all right? So you put 270 on the bar. You do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 18 reps with 270 pounds, right? That is a great day. Now, if you complete that, you go 5 pounds for the upper body. So the next Monday, say, bench Monday is all about the bench press, right? You do 275 then for 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you keep going. Same rules. If you miss something, you got to stop. All right. So that was the one question. Do you use the same weight for everything? Yes, you do. All right. So on the ladders, you use the same weight until you complete all the reps necessary. Moving on. I found something great here. I was listening to Francis Ngannou on Joe Rogan's podcast. I was also listening to Ian Hersey Ali. I also was diving into different things, talking about Dan Gable. David Goggins has this big challenge going on. You watch Tom Brady win the Super Bowl, and you're like, man, what is up with these people? What makes them so hungry that they just keep going? For a guy like Francis Ngannou, who came from Cameroon, it took him 14 months, I think, to get from Cameroon to some safe asylum here where he could get to France, I believe, and then eventually get to America. He had a lot of help along the way. He had to go through the Sahara Desert. He had, I think 7 failed attempts, barbed wire scars as he tried to climb a fence. He failed. He got picked up. They dropped him off in the middle of the desert. He had to restart his journey. That happened 2 or 3 times. By the time he got to France, he was homeless. This was supposed to be a great place for him. He had nowhere to stay. He started volunteering at a kind of like it sounded like a soup kitchen-ish, just something where homeless people could go to get a meal. Started volunteering there, went to a gym and started training. Eventually was introduced to some guys that helped him, gave him some money so he could buy a change of clothes. Eventually he was able to train more. Eventually they unleashed his potential, and this drive and this work ethic that this guy had was on another level. Hirsi Ali, she decides, I need to get out of my country. She, I believe, is in Somalia. She's about to get married to a man that it's an arranged marriage situation. She wanted out. She gets out. She sees that there's opportunities for women in the world. She goes to the university. She learns a language, and she becomes this great academic. And what drove her, she remembers what her life was like, and that's what keeps her mind where it is right now. She looks at, things that are going on in the world, say in Western society, which is like us here in America. And basically what she says is that, there's a lot of women that don't know how bad it could be out there. And it might seem bad right now in America, but relatively speaking, the stuff that she's seen in her country and in countries like her where there's one predominant religion that is not kind towards women, it's night and day, so to speak. Basically what she's saying is, she knows where she came from, and she uses that as her motivator. And I remember reading something, too, that it was about the immigrant mentality with boxing. If you look back at champions, they were talking about the early 1900s and then the 20s and the 30s. It was like there was, Jewish champions, we'll say. Then there was Irish champions. And then there was Italian champions. Then there was African-American champions. And as of late, and then we had the Mexican, Puerto Rican, Latin superstars, guys like Roberto Duran. I don't remember where Duran was from, but that Latin influence, they were winning championships. And then it became, these guys from these like former Soviet Union countries like now are winning. And why do you think that is? It's because they're coming from these terrible, terrible environments, and there's only one way out of there, and that's to fight and become a champion. And they have this, what I think, Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's got the immigrant mentality where he knows how bad it is in other places, and he's going to fight and keep fighting until he can make a better life for him and himself. And Francis Ngannou said, I'm coming back to that village where I grew up in, because, another guy, too, that said the same thing was another fighter, Max Holloway. He's like, he's from Hawaii. Nobody comes out of Hawaii. He's from a terrible town, and he's staying in that town, and he's showing everybody. And Francis Ngannou's going back to where he grew up, because he's going to show these people, we could do it, guys. We could do it. We don't have to leave. We don't have to go anywhere else. We could fight and fight and fight, and we could stay here, and then we could come home, and we could make this place a little bit better. So we got this immigrant mentality that I think Khabib said. But anyhow, they have this drive, and I brought up Roberto Duran before, and the other guys, he beat Sugar Ray Leonard, and then all of a sudden, guess what happened, man? He got all the riches, man, and he started to splurge a little bit. There's rumors circulating he might have put on a good 50-plus pounds after in between his first and second fight with Leonard. That's an issue. We got Buster Douglas, guys like that, knocks out Mike Tyson. What does he do? Plumps up again, starts living a life. He's a heavyweight champ of the world. Ronda Rousey, she's a fighter. I'm using fighting because it seems to be the best example. Ronda Rousey's everywhere, right? And then all of a sudden, Holly Holm kicks her in the head, knocks her out. Career will never be the same. You look at sports, baseball, NFL, things like that, the NBA. A lot of these players are in their contract here. Last year in their contract, what do? They play the best basketball, football, baseball of their careers because they know that they're trying to get that payday. And if they get that payday, oftentimes you see a big dip in production because they could exhale a little bit. And some guys like Tom Brady, some guys like David Goggins, some guys like Dan Gable. There's a lot of females out there, too, that are tough as nails. Helen Maroulis, she was an Olympic wrestler, gold medalist. She went down to, I think it was in Brazil Olympics. She had no budget for food. She had to eat at McDonald's. This is a United States American female wrestler, and her budget was next to nothing. She had to eat fast food just to get calories down there. Doesn't make any sense to me, and stuff like that is what kept her motivated and kept her mind right. And there's a ton of other tough women out there, too. So, staying hungry is a tough, tough task. And I personally can't teach that to anybody, man. It's like, I feel like sometimes, man, it's either in you or it's not. It's your life experiences, man, that make you, have that hunger. The NFL draft's coming around. There's a Tom Brady quote out there that, he told all the young guys, basically, just remember, man, here's what everything they told me. I have a terrible body. I'm too slow, weak arm, blah, 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 blah. And then he became the greatest quarterback to ever walk the face of the earth. He's like, remember that. Who cares what these people tell you here? Keep that hunger, keep the drive, and never forget that hunger. Moving to, like, if you're able to teach that stuff, we're going back a long, long time. And, I heard it from anything from, a Kenyan marathon runner where, they're like, hey, you look at the Kenyan champions, say, in the marathons, and it's like, there's always that genetic drive, there's always genes, and there's always environment. You're like, hey, why aren't these guys kids? I remember seeing this question. Why isn't your son or your daughter a great runner? And his answer was because they don't have to run to school every day. They didn't have to develop this mentality that there's nobody gonna nobody's gonna drive you to school. You had to run to school. You ran everywhere you went. Now you become a world champion, you become an Olympic champ, and you're a marathon runner in Kenya. Guess what you could do? You could buy some nice cars. You could drive your kids places. You could send them to a nice school. And they're not born with those life experiences that could give them that hunger and give them that drive. I remember, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, talking about Genghis Khan. He had some descendants, and with each generation, the more riches they accumulated, the more spoiled that these kids became, and the less, I don't want to call these guys great leaders because they destroyed a lot, but the less successful they were in their quest to kind of take over the world, so to speak, right? And this is from Genghis Khan all the way to present day. It's like that hunger and that drive. Kids get a little bit more spoiled as these generations come down, and they lose a certain work ethic, so to speak, right? So that was just in some conversations that I had this week at the gym, and it was great. And another thing that was brought up too is we start looking at things, man. We're looking at track and field now, right? And I was talking to a friend of mine this week, and this is where we went with it. After talking about these champions, we started talking about the track world, and there's a local girl that's doing really well at the college level. And it led me to this book from Charlie Francis, who became this disgraced track and field coach when he coached Ben Johnson, who tested positive. And I talk about Charlie Francis often because I think his teachings are great. And not the fact that there's steroids out there, but he has a few books. Speed Trap's one of them that just tells the whole story. He kind of comes clean. If you ever seen Hamilton, the movie, Hamilton just comes clean for no apparent reason. Francis does it too here. And he just basically is like, this is what we did. This is what they got. This is how we injected them, blah, 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 right? You watch the movie Icarus, the documentary Icarus, and it'll tell you about the steroid, the widespread doping everywhere. It tells you that Ben Johnson may have competed against some people that were doping. Carl Lewis ended up getting the gold. One of the Olympic Games, I don't know if it was in '88, it might have been '92, but one of his samples tested positive, but his B sample was clean, right? There's rumors circulating around there that there was some foul play, so to speak, and that whether or not they tainted the first sample or whether or not his B sample was clean but wasn't really his, so to speak, all right? So anyhow, what the heck am I saying? I'm saying a lot of people did steroids, and what Charlie Francis was able to accomplish with his athletes was incredible. And he talks about, this is 1988, I'm reading this book, and he's talking about how to look, what to do to look for certain characteristics, talent identification characteristics in that 13 to 17-year-old age population. And I've talked about this before. In my experiences, this window is super important. If you don't, if you miss this window, I think it sets you back almost for a lifetime. It's like you have an opportunity. You got this natural hormones, this testosterone if you're a man, and even I guess a female running through your body where you could put on impressive strength gains. You could get yourself in great shape. And one of the best ways to not be in bad shape is to just kind of build some good muscle at that age and then just try to maintain that for as long as possible. You don't want to miss that training window. But let's start looking into athletics now. There's certain things here that, you start talking to some parents in my world, and it's like, hold on a second now. It's like the square peg in a round hole situation where they might want their kid to accomplish something special, but they seem to miss out on a few key markers here when they see how well their kid moves, how well they perform in sport, what they're capable of doing in terms of sprinting, jumping, and all that stuff. So, 1988 here, Charlie Francis. This is literally talking about his track and field athletes with the focus being on speed. This is the number one thing. This is what he put number one on his talent identification checklist for kids in that 13 to 17 range. High-level sprinters tend to be short-tempered, explosive, and intense. A sprinter will have all these characteristics even at a young age. An explosive personality is an indication of an explosive nervous system. So when you talk about the nervous system, it's the ability to contract things very quickly and explosively. For some things that is very good, like sprinting. Another thing, but it might not be good for your personal relationships if you have that short temper, man. You get yourself into trouble. And, just this week, I've heard stories from some people here, and I was thinking back, man, the sport of wrestling, requires, some of these explosive, intense characteristics in their personality and also on the wrestling mat. And a lot of people I know, man, they seem to struggle with, they're getting into fights in college. After school, they're drinking a bunch. They're getting involved in drugs. We had so many deaths in this area from wrestling. And the more I think about it here, it's like some of these qualities that make an athlete explosive on the mat, they require that certain explosive personality, that explosive trait. And I'm just speculating right now, but, to have certain mindset for certain sports, it might help you all in one aspect, but then really down the line, if you're not able to get some of these things in check, it could lead you down a terrible, terrible path. So Charlie Francis, high-level sprinters, he wants them to be short-tempered, explosive, intense. The athlete who can move his or her feet with high frequency is a candidate for sprinting, all right? So even just talking about things like alternatively or feet together, hop on the ground during a fixed period of time. You get your timer, 6 seconds, ready, go. You measure those contacts, feet together, like pogo hops. The person that's able to get up and get down, or you just do it a little bit longer, 10, 15 seconds. If you're a coach, look at your team, man. Set the time, count the steps. Those guys, those girls that are doing the most of them are probably your faster athletes, right? We need power-related work between the ages of 13 and 17. We need to be able to maintain. See, this is why I was saying that this could last a lifetime, because we want to maintain the determined levels of white or power-related muscle fiber. We're all born with, let's just say, for simplicity reasons, fast twitch and slow twitch fibers. We want to maintain those fast twitch fibers because those are the ones that are going to last in terms of strength and power. And as we get older, strength and power will diminish. So we want to build those white muscles up, that white muscle fiber up. We don't want to decrease it. And we want to promote the shift in that age 13 to 17 window. We want to promote the shift of transitional or intermediate fiber to white power-related muscle fiber. So let's just say there's slow twitch, there's fast twitch, and then there's some intermediate. We want to shift those intermediate fibers towards that fast twitch, not towards that slow twitch, all right? What is going to take it towards the slow twitch is that endurance work, those long runs that people take. For these young kids, they need to be light and they need to be limited. We need to watch the volume, all right? Basically, if you want to be a power athlete, don't run cross country because it's going to shift your muscle fiber type into that slow twitch fiber. All right, simple as that. If you don't want to be a power athlete and you want to be a great cross country runner, then you're going to have to put in the miles. But if you play a power athlete, if you're a power sport, something that requires some quick twitch, don't go on those long cross country type runs. When we start talking about power related work for young kids, we're talking about stuff on the flat ground, two-legged hops, two-legged jumps, light medicine ball work, 6 to 8 pounds. It doesn't have to be heavy because the focus is going to be speed of movement, not on if you could throw a 20-pound medicine ball off the ground, all right? Speed of movement is important. Young athletes should compete in races regularly. The best way to get a kid to run hard is either have them chase somebody or have somebody chase them. Chase or be chased. If you're working with young kids, that's the simplest thing you can do. Create a little small challenge if you want, but really at the end of the day, say, hey, take one step back, on go, you guys are taking off, winner gets, who knows what they get, a high five, a fist bump. They get to choose the next exercise you do, something like that, all right? Have some fun with it, man. Get them racing. It's going to bring the intensity level up, and it's going to have the fun factor there, too. Speed endurance work should be performed by young athletes over distances up to 150 meters. 150 meters is, less than a third of a lap, right? So anywhere from 100 meters, which is a straightaway, to, half of a bend almost. That's about it. When you're doing speed endurance, not endurance work, speed endurance. You got to keep the volume low, though. It's like if you're running 150 meters, you're only going to do a handful of those, all right? You're not going to do 10 of those. And then This is a little tricky one here that I thought was interesting. Short athletes will show earlier development than a tall athlete. Tall athletes take a longer time to develop sprint technique because of their long limb lengths. So when you start talking about late bloomers, early bloomers, whatever it may be, don't give it. Those long limb athletes they need a little bit of time for their bodies to figure out how to be as efficient as possible. There's just more range, more length in the joints. Equals is going to just be more potential for issues, right? More room for error, so to speak. So I never really thought about this. A short athlete will show earlier development than a tall athlete in terms of sprint speed, which could be counterintuitive when people start talking about stride length, stride frequency. But with these athletes, man, they're just able to churn those little freaking muscles over and over and over again and beat it. This is, remember, coming from Charlie Francis. So if you're coaching the speed sport, just remember, be patient with those tall athletes. This 1988, come on, parents, come on, coaches, listen to this one. The coach must take care not to overemphasize winning at this stage of development. Personal bests only are emphasized. Do the best that you can, and that is it. Who cares what the competition's doing, right? Enthusiasm is reinforced and maintained through successive personal bests. Let's continue to get better and better and better and better and better. Who cares what that girl from the next town over is doing? Who cares how fast that boy's running right next to you? You're a freshman, you're a sophomore, you're a junior. Even if you are a senior, let's just keep trying to develop. And you get into college and you keep getting better, you're going to beat that crosstown rival if you are able to keep getting better and they're not. Lastly, free weight strength movements are prescribed to very young athletes to gradually develop a sprinter's build within the constraints of the inherited body type. So everybody's bodies are different, right? We talked about that short athlete. We talked about the lanky athlete. We talked about, you ever see those kids that are just muscle bound? Some kids are muscle bound. Some kids are naturally pretty thin. We're talking about mesomorphics, ectomorphics, endomorphic, things like that. Some of these different types of body types, man, they exist, and we need to have an understanding. And as a coach, it's not a prescription, one size fits all with whatever we're doing. We need to see what individual kids need. Some kids might be able to hammer push-ups but not do chin-ups. Other kids, it might be the other way around, right? So we need to say, hey, we need to put more of an emphasis on the chin-up for that kid that could do a lot of squats or push-ups, and vice versa for kids that can't do other things, right? I thought that was interesting. 1988, everybody. Charlie Francis, great coach, great references written by him that are out there. Speed Trap is good, and then he has another one that just his training system's all outlined in a book. So I enjoy that. Remember, parents, coaches, anybody, that 13 to 17 age window, run back the last 5 minutes of what I just talked about. Keep some of these things in mind when you're trying to identify talent, okay? Lastly, question of the day, man. Question of the month, I guess, last month, man. What is my favorite book? Now, I broke this thing down in a few different segments here. Favorite audio book, The Godfather, No Country for Old Men. Two great stories. The Godfather is one of the greatest tales. I love it. There's different things in this book that they don't show in the movies, so if you're a fan of the movies, check out the book. There's things with the Bolkikio clans. There's things with the woman. If you remember the movie, Sonny Corleone has a little rendezvous with a woman in the bathroom at his sister's wedding. There's a story there with that woman. There's all kinds of other stuff going on. The Godfather movie, Michael Corleone comes back from Italy. How? How is he okay to just randomly come back 2 years later? The book tells you how. Stuff like that, it's great. No Country for Old Men. The Tommy Lee Jones character, I forget his name in the story. Him in the audiobook, incredible. That villain, man. That villain is one of the craziest, best villains I think that ever existed in the world. Tremendous audiobook. So if you got some time to listen to two fiction books, The Godfather, No Country for Old Men, listen to those. Strength and conditioning. It doesn't matter. I even think if you're a personal trainer, if you're not working with athletes, the book to read is Easy Strength. That is my favorite. That's my top strength and conditioning book right now. My favorite author as a whole, I think it's going to have to be Malcolm Gladwell. I read all of his books. I love the way that his mind works, that he thinks a little bit differently. And he presents things in a way that my mind just can't even wrap around sometimes, right? Malcolm Gladwell is my favorite author. My favorite classic book, I'm thinking I'm going with Walden by my boy, Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau. I was telling somebody this past week, I think, that what he created in Walden, the house that he lived in, I think, for 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. His little shack that he built. I'm thinking about rereading that book, and I'm trying to, don't tell the zoning people in Williams Township here, but I'm thinking about building that same exact little stone house, kind of. It's like a small, like 8x10, 6x8 type of room on this property somewhere. I'm going to stash it somewhere out in the trees here. We got 10 acres to play with. I need to find a good dry spot and go with it. All right. Walden, I think, is my favorite classic. Second favorite classic, if I had to mix one, man, I don't know. I got a lot of these Barnes & Noble books. I've read a lot of Frederick Douglass back in the day. It might be Narrative in the Life of Frederick Douglass, I think that book, would be my second favorite. Nonfiction. Devil in the White City, Under the Banner of Heaven. I couldn't choose which one I liked most. Both are great. The Devil in the White City tells the story of, I think, the first serial killer that this country has ever known. All right? Apparently, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio were making this movie, and I don't know where it is, but I can't wait. I want to see it. Basically, Devil in the White City, 1890s, I think, Chicago's World's Fair. All of these people flocked to Chicago. People just left their towns. Well, some of these women just didn't come home. And, some of their parents were just like, well, they ran off, did this, that, and the other thing. But really what happened, there was a man, I think his name was Crippen. He was taking them out, man. He was massacring them. He had this elaborate hotel that he built with like these different murder rooms in there. Dude, totally crazy. Devil in the White City. You got to read it. Under the Banner of Heaven, John Krakauer. Tremendous book. Not so great for the Mormons, not so great for the Latter-day Saints, but tremendous book, and it takes a look at that religion, and it looks at the environment out in Utah, how some of these things came to be. Really great book. Fiction, obviously The Godfather and No Country for Old Men are on the list, but I put those in the audiobook category. Favorite fiction, I think little series, 2 of them, right? Dennis Lehane's books that have, well, let's just go with Gone Baby Gone, that has Angelo Gennaro and Patrick Kenzie as the characters. There's a series of books that he has with those 2 private investigators. There's maybe 4 or 5 of them. Those are really good. That guy wrote Mystic River as well. Tremendous author, in my opinion, Dennis Lehane, I think is how you pronounce his name. Also, Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park, Lost World. Those are 2 new favorites of mine. And lastly, my favorite kids book, Barnyard Boogie. My daughter loves it. She obviously loves Pete the Cat, which I do too. Barnyard Boogie, if you're a parent, pick up that book, all right? Those are my favorite books. I got to whittle this down. I thought it was only 10, but it's actually more. That's some late entries there. So if you ask me what my favorite book is, believe me, you will not get an answer, a straight answer. Well, no, you would get a straight answer. It's just going to be a long-winded one. Lastly, man, I'm going to finish with one of my favorite quotes from the Weekly Word that I put out this past month. Guys, I have a newsletter, Weekly Word. It comes out every Sunday at 7:30. If you go to chrisflook.net, you could subscribe there. Just enter your email, and it gets sent right to your inbox, all right? After, at the end of this month, I'm coming out with my quarterly report. It's going to be a collection of the weekly words. It's going to be a collection of some of my writings. It's going to be a collection of the podcast topics that I talked about, all in one little report, kind of like a mini ebook. And from there, I'm going to start playing around with creating a larger volume of these quarterly reports, maybe do something each year, right? So be on the lookout for that. The Weekly Word, go to chrisflook.net. It's going to pop up. Also at chrisflook.net, on the homepage, I have my fitness tip of the week. Right on the home screen, I have my latest podcast episode. So this podcast will be there. chrisflook.net, click on podcast, and that's what's going to show up. It's going to be the YouTube link. And I think, I have to add the Stitcher and the Google Play type links on there too. I'll probably add Stitcher. So if you're in your car, on your phone, you can just open up that Stitcher link. You don't have to worry about YouTube videos playing or anything like that. All right. So chrisflook.net, it's got all that stuff there. Go to YouTube and like or subscribe to this channel, please. I'm trying to build this thing up. Once I get to 100 views, I'm going to give out 100 gifts. I don't know what these gifts are going to be. It might be gift cards. It might be donations from other people. But we get to 100 boys and girls, I'm giving out 100 items. You better believe that. So, same with the podcast, man. Like and subscribe. Tell everybody you know. Chris Flook Podcast, Google Play, Apple. It's on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, and I think that might be it, man. Yep, that's it. So, Lastly, I'm going to close it off. Jordan Peterson quote. You don't know Jordan Peterson. He's been in the news. I think guys like this are important to us, important to our thinking, important to free thought, and hopefully keeping rational thoughts in our minds here when sometimes this world gets a little bit crazy. Jordan Peterson, put the things you can control in order. Repair what is in disorder and make what is already good better. It is possible that you can manage even if you, It's possible that you can manage if you are careful. People are very tough. People can survive through much pain and loss, but to preserve, they must see the good in being. If they lost that, they are truly lost. If you no longer see the good in being alive and being who you are and being as a person, all of what I said doesn't matter. All right. But if you continue to believe in yourself and believe in the person that you are, you can continue to make improvements and you can continue to do great things in this world, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. Peace, everybody.